Some video games make the traversing pretty key, and it becomes one of the main talking about features for the video game. In this list, we're going to be highlighting the best video games that offer some fun parkour maneuvering. Whether they are simple side-scrolling platformers to be big open-world AAA releases, these are some of the best video games you can pick up right now. Dying Light's sequel finally hit the marketplace in 2022. The game is set years after the events of the first game. We are taking the role of a new protagonist named Aiden. Seeking his missing sister, players are venturing the world, finding what scraps of information there is to uncover. Just like the first game, the title relies heavily on parkour. Our protagonist can explore the world, vaulting, sprinting, and climbing around the environment. This game's world is essentially a giant playground for players. Developers have also made sure to mix the parkour with combat. Essentially, you can string together some impressive attacks as vault around the rooftops, to dropkick an enemy off the ledge, or maneuver around obstacles to quickly get away from danger.
No.
The game that I'm sure everyone instantly thought of when talking about parkour is the Mirror's Edge franchise. This is an action-adventure platform title that launched back in 2008. Within the game, players are tossed into a futuristic world with a tough regime. However, while there is a more controlled state, an underground carrier crew that is skilled in parkour offers their services as a means to deliver sensitive packages across the city. Players are stepping into the role in one of these carriers named Faith Connors. Faith is extremely skilled at parkour, whether it's bolting across thin platforms, vaulting, leaping over large gaps, or climbing up walls. While this is one of the best parkour games to have come out, it was a title that didn't quite hit the level of success that EA was likely hopeful for. It wouldn't be until 2016 that we got a reboot of sorts with Mirror's Edge Catalyst that offers a bit of backstory of Faith Connors, which again is very much focused on traversing around the area using your parkour skills. The entire Assassin's Creed franchise is one series that's well worth playing if you're after parkour games. Each game is centered around historical events and eras, so you're getting to experience plenty of different settings and characters with this IP. Overall, the game is based around power between assassins who wishes to see a free world, and Templars that are after order. Players in this case are taking on the role of assassins as they embark on different quests to stop the Templar leaders. To do this, assassins are required to blend in with the crowd and attempt to steer away from gaining any attention. As a result, players will find protagonists are skilled at climbing up large walls, vaulting across objects, and diving into the brush to keep out of an enemy's view. With that said, what it boils down to is what era interests you. While there is a storyline to follow the video games, you could get away with just picking out an era that's of interest and getting some recaps to help flesh out the storyline. Players can find Assassin's Creed games based around ancient Greece, Egypt, to even the latest installment, Assassin's Creed Valhalla following the Viking expansion. The Dishonored series is another game franchise worth looking into if you want more of a parkour-style traverse system. While the game is based around being a stealthy assassin, players will have the ability to do the usual, such as climb up ledges, slide under obstacles, and vault over obstacles. However, with the unique ability called Blink that allows the protagonist to teleport greater distances, players can make some quick work getting around the map. Rocksteady Studios made the standard for Batman video games with the Batman Arkham series. The video game series got started with Batman Arkham Asylum and continued with Batman Arkham City and Batman Arkham Knight. Each installment puts players in control of the Caped Crusader as you protect the citizens of Gotham from the villains that seek to wreak havoc. Of course, being the Dark Knight comes with the perks of having incredible skills to deliver some near-fatal blows against your enemies as you drop down into the ground of thugs. Likewise, Batman is quite quick on his feet as well, being able to leap around objects, scale buildings with an assortment of gear, and gliding from great heights thanks to your cape. This is a very solid video game series all around with the fun storylines, brawler-style combat, and plenty of areas to explore, especially after Arkham Asylum when the game opens up Gotham City.
No more hope. No more Batman.
Development studio Respawn Entertainment brought out Titanfall, an online-only multiplayer game that had players battling against each other, using massive mechs or being a ground trooper fighting against the opposing team. While fans enjoyed this game, there was plenty of players wanting a campaign. Fortunately, that came with Titanfall 2. Here, players not only had a short campaign, but also an online component for players to battle against each other again, with massive mechs and ground troops. Despite not being in a mech, players are pretty nimble as they can double jump, run across walls, and slide under obstacles. For now, we're left waiting to see if we'll get a Titanfall 3, but at least Titanfall 2 is an active game. Bit Trip Runner is an arcade game that mixes platforming and rhythm elements. Players are going through courses, having to jump over obstacles and slide under walls as they attempt to help keep the beat going. The better you do and the more power-ups you'll acquire will give the song more exuberance. It starts very simple as you run from one side to the other. But as you progress, the difficulty ramps up as you have plenty of obstacles popping up to deal with. There have been 3 main installments to this Bit Trip Runner franchise, which mainly follows the same style of gameplay, but with some visual enhancements. Ghostrunner is a game that might have gotten overshadowed by another highly anticipated Cyberpunk video game. While Cyberpunk 2077 was a hot mess at launch, Ghostrunner was a solid entry to the genre. This is a game where players take the role of a futuristic ninja that's tossed out of this massive tower. With no memories of what happened but a voice telling him to ascend the tower, our protagonist begins a journey to figure out what happened. Of course, there's a heavily guarded pathway waiting for players, but thanks to our protagonist's parkour skills, players can quickly dodge attacks. With that said, you'll die a lot. Fortunately, the game is great at throwing players right back into the mix and getting players into the fight. As mentioned, there are plenty of parkour skills to use, such as wall running, and even a dash system in the air. If Sunset Overdrive proves to be true, we don't have much longer before humanity is taken over control. Sunset Overdrive was one of the Xbox One exclusives to move the console, which was developed by Insomniac Games before they were acquired by Sony. Taking place in 2027, the world has become a dystopia in control by mutants. Within the game, you take the role of a Fizco employee who is tasked with cleaning up the mess in the city after the launch of a new energy drink developed by the mutants. It's a very action-packed and colorful game. However, the reason it makes our list is the fact that the protagonist can quickly move around the city landscapes. Outside of having normal maneuvering mechanics such as running and jumping, our protagonist can also quickly jump and glide down around rails and power lines around the city, while also using different items such as giant fans or tents to bounce the character high up into the sky. Deathloop was released in 2021, where players are taking the role of a skilled assassin named Colt. Stuck in a time loop, Colt is forced into taking out 8 specific targets scattered around the island. That's easier said than done, as the game has a time progression mechanic that will result in Colt starting over if a day completes before taking out all the targets. Then there's also the added fact that these high-profile targets have swarms of soldiers armed to the teeth. Lastly, if that wasn't bad enough, there's another skilled assassin on the island. Juliana only has 1 target on her hit list, and that's Colt. A good portion of this game is based around stealth and parkour. You'll need to maneuver around the map without raising too much unwanted attention carefully. If things get too heated, then Colt will have to parkour across the area to either gain cover or quickly get out of the way of danger. Another game that you might see as a platformer is the Prince of Persia series. This is a game franchise that has quite a few installments available, with players being able to quickly wall run and platform around the levels with relative ease. Not to mention the mechanic that allows players to rewind time to avoid devastating leap or combat. One of the more popular installments for this game, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, is getting a remake coming out later this year. That should give players some nice refinements to not only the visuals, but mechanics. We're hopeful that this game becomes even more fluid with the new remake. Dustforce acts much like a ninja style of the video game as you zip around the levels, gliding down walls and leaping from ledge to ledge. However, you're far from a ninja in this game, as Dustforce follows a nimble janitor who has a job of getting rid of all the debris and trash of the world. As you glide around the levels in this side-scrolling video game, players will use their broom to clear the dust and debris. Meanwhile, for those pesky dust bunnies and other vile dirt monsters, players will use their broom to deliver a barrage of blows. There are over 70 levels available and even community-made levels to keep players going in this game. Thanks to the level editor, you can craft up unique levels and share them with the community online. However, the levels can continue to get even more challenging, giving players more content to chew through in hopes of perfecting a run to showcase on the leaderboard. Dying Light is a game where we follow Kyle Crane, who is a member of the Global Relief Effort. This is an organization that assists survivors trapped within infected areas around the world. Players are jumping into a quarantine zone in search of a political figure that is out to destroy the GRE. But here, we have a viral outbreak turning most of the city into mindless zombie-like creatures. While players are attempting to track down this individual, they'll also have to attempt in staying away from these hostile enemies by any means necessary. The development team opted to bring out a more parkour movement system in this game where players can quickly zip around the city. Whether it's sprinting down the road, vaulting over objects, or leaping around the rooftops, there's a pretty quick way to get around the area, which is a pretty key element in this game, thanks to the enemies becoming very aggressive and quick during nightfall.
Just Cause 3.
The Just Cause franchise is a pretty strong one for action-adventure fans, and in 2015, we received the third mainline installment, Just Cause 3. This video game, once again, throws players into the protagonist Rico Rodriguez, who heads back home to the fictional island of Medici, which is under the control of a dictator. If you're familiar with the Just Cause video games, then you know there is a ton of action-packed moments, and that holds with this third video game. It's set in an open-world environment with plenty of places to explore and battle within. Likewise, the equipment Rico has at his disposal makes it easy for players to get around the map. I'm sure you've seen the variety of videos surfacing online for this game, as players can use their mods to lay down booster explosives and tethers to open some wacky traversing methods. It might not be parkour per se, but you gotta admit it's quite a thrill getting from one place to the next. Inmomentum is an indie title developed by Digital Arrow and released into the marketplace back in 2011. This is a platform racing game, and while it doesn't offer anything much else than that, it can be a bit mesmerizing to play or watch. The game has players going through a neon world full of platforms, walls, and ledges with checkpoints to clear off and a clock constantly ticking. Here, players are simply moving as fast as they can along the course, jumping onto the different platforms and making their way to each checkpoint. Again, not much more can be said about this game, but you might find yourself having quite a bit of fun with it, whether it's killing time or just enjoying some tunes as you progress through the levels. In Brink, we get a team-based shooter which revolves around a narrative. What you have is a world that is flooding, and the only chance of survival is to seek refuge in a city made to float. This, of course, grows to become a big problem as factions grow, causing a war on what's considered the last safe city for humanity. As a result, this team-based shooter mixes in a few different game modes for players to compete within, either as an online MMO shooter or even through single player using an assortment of AI bots. With that said, there is a reason this game made our list, and it was for the maneuvering system, which was made to be incredibly simple. Players could essentially hold down a single button, and it would allow the protagonist to climb up ledges and vault over objects. It was a simple system, but wrapped up in a game that just didn't quite deliver in 2011 against other notable video game launches, such as Dark Souls, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and Battlefield 3. You likely are already familiar with Human Fall Flat. It's a game with wobbly physics-based mechanics that makes it a challenge to move around freely. It's a puzzle platform title where you'll need to wander around the area and move around objects to reach different sections of the map. However, it's an open-ended game, so you can just freely explore and complete puzzles. Some players also find this game to be a bit of a parkour title, although physics makes it a real challenge. There are even achievements for reaching areas in the game without touching the ground. There were many reasons to like Respawn Entertainment's first foray into the galaxy far away, but one of the biggest ones was the freedom of movement that Cal Kestis had, which made you feel like a Jedi. Thankfully, Star Wars Jedi Survivor brings that back and lets you use it in Nen ways. Don't worry, you'll still be able to wall jump, double jump, grab ropes with force pull, and more. But you'll get to use them in new ways to unlock new traversal methods within the title to reach new spaces. You'll need to be precise with your movements, just like a Jedi, to reach the spots you want to reach. Remember, some places you go to will be packed with enemies, so be ready for a scrap at any moment. Who's ready to go on one of the best superhero adventures ever and in improved form? If so, then you need to get Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. The original title came out on PS4, but this PS5 and PC upgrade brings numerous visual and technical boosts to help the game play better than ever before. You'll don the suit of Peter Parker as he once again tries to save New York while also living a normal life. But when new threats show up in the form of Mr. Negative and more, he'll be pushed to the limit and have to risk it all to save his city and family.
My time, my time.
The follow-up to the beloved PS4 title, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, focuses on the newest Spider-Man of New York City for his first full-on gaming adventure. When Peter Parker leaves the city, Miles is on his own. But life isn't easy for a Spider-Man, and he soon finds himself caught between two opposing sides in a war that could threaten his home, friends, family, and more. You'll use Miles's unique abilities to save the day and prove that there's more than one person worthy of wielding the spider logo. So suit up, because New York City needs you to be the hero you were always destined to be. Sometimes you just want to monkey around and see how fun that can be. Gorilla Tag gives you that opportunity in a unique VR experience, one that lets you do nothing more than moving your arms and legs around in a certain way to get your gorilla to move. Because you're playing tag or infection or other games you and your friends come up with. The game is all about embracing the hilarity of monkey movement and seeing who can come out on top. It's not a crime to have fun and go ape every once in a while, so put on your headset and get in there.
Bonding.
It's rare to say that a video game is truly unique anymore, thanks to all the different titles that have come out over the years. But with Neon White, you will get something unique, fun, and completely over the top. In the game, you play as the titular Neon White, who happens to be an assassin who was consigned to the underworld until heaven needed him, and others to defeat the demons that have invaded the Holy Realm. You'll bound through the various parts of heaven and collect cards that you can use to unlock weapons, or get rid of so you can do cool acrobatic moves. You can stay in heaven if you complete your job. But is it really that easy? If you're in the mood for a fast-paced title that doesn't weigh itself down with the story, then you'll want to try Soda Crisis. In the game, you play as someone with mysterious origins, just the person the world needs to save from the monsters trying to take all the Earth soda. Yes, that is the game's plot, but ignore that as you blitz through the levels using your protagonist's skills and tech. You can choose how you want to handle each level and then dive in. Even if you die, you can restart that section in seconds without doing much. Will you be able to save the world in soda? Parkour in video games has been slowly developed into something that is now a key part of many titles. After all, if you can gracefully bound through an area versus just walking or running to a new location, why wouldn't you do that? In the case of Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, parkour is what will help you get through a vibrant city so you can get to areas that you must graffiti so you can claim the turf as your own. Alongside your partners in crime, you'll fight off other groups until you are the true kings of the city. Oh, and did we mention that you'll lose your head and have it replaced with a robot one? Because you do. When you're a Spider-Man, being flexible is literally a perk of the job. Whether you're Peter Parker or Miles Morales, you'll be bending it like Spider Beckham and getting around New York City with ease and taking on foes with a variety of moves. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 will show off the moves of the Spider-Man in various ways, both in combat and outside it. There will be new combat features for players to use, and you'll want to upgrade the two how you want to fit your fighting style.